It's like an unlucky friend. You can rely on it, but it always attracts trouble. The key to mastering the new T-54 is to rely on luck as little as possible. In reality, the first prototype was an intermediary model between the T-44 and T-54. In the game, it's a classic high-tier Soviet medium tank. It has moderate armor, moderate mobility, and a moderate gun. It can rush in from the flank, cause damage, maybe take a few hits, and slip away. If you make a couple of mistakes, it's not a big deal. Unlike some Soviet mediums, this T-54 is relatively forgiving. Versatility is what makes the high-tier vehicles of the Soviet branch so attractive. And now, there's a premium tank for you to train your crew with before proceeding to the popular Soviet Tier 10 medium tanks. Of course, the first prototype has its notable features, but its gun is definitely not amongst them. It's no worse than its allies, but also no better. So let's give it a go. Here's the legendary Type 59, a worthy adversary. To ensure a fair test, the target is placed 200 meters from each. To keep it interesting, they'll be accompanied by a Super Pershing and an AMX CDC, shooting at the menacing E-100s. Their guns have a very similar armor penetration and cause almost the same damage. Their armor penetration values of 175 and 181 millimeters are just enough to penetrate the E-100 side with its tracks and side skirt, but with an average damage value of 250, it will take them a while to destroy it. That's not surprising though, it's a Tier 10 heavy tank. In 1 minute, the first prototype has fired 7 shots. However, the CDC has fired more. The Type 59 has managed only 6 shots. At last, the first E-100 is destroyed during the 2nd minute, but anyone can hurt a poor German heavy by shooting its side hull. What if they shoot it in the front? No luck. Their AP shells don't have sufficient penetration, even for the lower glacis plate. It seems that the new E-100 isn't as helpless as the last one. Time to switch to APCR rounds. With 235mm penetration, they punch through the lower glacis plate like darts through cardboard. After 2 E-100s have been destroyed, we can compare the results. It looks like the first prototype's accuracy is even higher than the Type 59's, and the vehicle's official stats reflect this. Now, the third E-100. This one looks less confident than the previous ones. Hold on, why is everyone shooting except the T-54? The E-100 is almost destroyed. The T-54 is out of ammo. The T-54 fired all 34 rounds in less than 5 minutes. Will the T-54 lose out to the Type 59 in such an awkward way? But the gun of the Chinese tank goes silent as well. It has fired the same 34 rounds of ammunition. The German tanks can breathe easy now. Well, the first prototype destroyed 2 full HP E-100s, along with the other tanks. Its gun is far from perfect, but it's typical of many Soviet guns. It's inaccurate, and the average damage per shot is low, but the damage per minute is quite good. There's also a myth that Soviet vehicles hit their targets without aiming. Joking aside, this gun type requires aggressive use. This is what the other parts of the vehicle are needed for, and where its peculiar features lie. The first prototype leans more towards the style of a heavy tank. It's more armored and a little bit slower than most medium tanks. Its engine is quite weak. With 520 horsepower, the T-54 can accelerate up to 44 kilometers per hour according to its credentials, and up to 35 to 40 kilometers per hour in practice. Its speed may be low, but it's very agile. A couple of circles at 42 degrees per second will give you motion sickness. The front hull armor is quite strong, 120 millimeters. With slope, it turns into 240 millimeters of effective armor, and even more when angled. The gun mantlet and turret cheeks have 180 millimeters of armor. The shape of the turret is also an advantage.
The Yak-Tiger 8.8 German tank destroyer is a real monster. Large and powerful. Solid and slow. Well, everything is relative. The sheer size of this German vehicle will give you confidence. This is not some scrawny tank destroyer. This is a true giant. It's true. You can't expect to be invisible on the battlefield in something this big. But to be honest, you won't need to be. They might spot the Yektiga, okay fine, but just let them try to penetrate it. Its front armor can cause intense frustration for almost any vehicle you meet in the battle, especially because the Yektiga 8.8 gets preferential matchmaking. You won't face opponents higher than Tier 9. Having such nice armor on your front, naturally you'll have weaker points at your sides and rear. That's not a surprise to you, is it? Hiding your weak points from the enemy is one of the most important skills in the game. Delivering fire effectively is perhaps the only skill more important. Speaking of delivering fire, the Yektiga's gun is pure pleasure. Nice fire rate, nice armor penetration, nice aiming time. It's accurate enough to hit a squirrel's eye or an unprotected turret hatch at 100 meters, whichever of those you need to hit. Its damage per minute? Its damage per minute is almost 2,700 points. That's one of the top 3 DPMs of any Tier 8 vehicle. All in all, this is a mighty vehicle with an iron nose and a gun that is fantastic in every respect. You already know you want one for yourself.
Der Jagdtiger 8.8, hergestellt in Deutschland.